All right, live, AJ. AJ.
Yeah, I'm here. Well, hold on. Cue the
Okay.
intros.
Oh, word.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold, and the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
everyone. It's that time of the week again. Week 1 is tomorrow. As you guys should hopefully know if you guys aren't living under a rock, as the nation. Tomorrow's week 1. Tomorrow's opening day. Tomorrow is the day that we've been waiting like 200 days or something like that for. I know I've been waiting for the start of this season, the start of a new era since Kansas City lost, honestly. And now it's that time, and we're back on live. Or at least I'm back doing this show for the first time since the Niner game. So we got a couple of my close friends with me here. We got Dustin right here. We got Jeff over here. We're gonna be popping everything in the chat. So just watch out for the Nightbot. We'll be popping links, Discords, Instagram if you guys want to follow us. Also, we should be streaming. Well, we are streaming on 2 channels. We're streaming on my channel and we're streaming on the DSR channel. So if you guys could hit the like button and subscribe, that would be really appreciated by us here. And if you guys have anything to say, we can go from there.
All right. So how we starting? If we're gonna like get my thoughts on the game, or
And it's what you guys want to talk about. So on here, we'll just start off something simple. Week 1 preview. We'll just start off week 1. What do we expect heading into this game? What is something that you expect seeing like heading into?
No good, or do you want this?
what is something I expect to see out of this game? You're saying?
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I know a lot of people, especially here in Raider Nation, are expecting a blowout. Certainly, what I'm expecting to see is a relatively close game. I don't think we're going to see a blowout. Obviously, Denver's defense last year ended up being pretty stout. I mean, for example, they lost a game, I believe, 10-9 last year. And that just
they ended
goes
up
to show
winning
how
that game.
I think they lost, if I'm not mistaken. It was against the Ravens. They
lost 10-9 against the Ravens, and then they won 10-9 against San Francisco.
Oh yeah, right. That was the other game. I think that was like 12-10. Really, the point is,
something like that.
Yeah, the point is, their defense, is relatively stout. Definitely kept them in games. And if you guys remember the game that the Raiders played in Denver last year, I believe only ended up being a score of 22-16. So I'm definitely still expecting the Denver defense, to keep the team in the game. To me, the biggest factor is the Broncos offense, right? Like how well are they going to click, under obviously first-time head coach Sean Payton? How is Russell Wilson going to adjust to his system and his tendencies, the way he wants the offense to be run? Obviously, they're, running back Javonte Williams, who's obviously coming off a very serious season-ending injury, ironically enough, at the hands of the Raiders last season. What is he going to look like? So, obviously, especially, with the Denver offense, there's going to be a whole lot of question marks. And, because of that, because of that uncertainty, you could argue that all of that stuff sort of, favors the Raiders in that sense. So, but like I said, I don't expect this to be a blow up, but I definitely think the Raiders can come out on top. I think they're also playing with a lot of billboard material, just because, the Raiders obviously, have been hearing a lot of, talking unnecessarily from the Broncos side. The Broncos have decided to talk a lot of smack. To me, inexplicably, I don't exactly know why they're doing all this, but they are, and to me, it gives the Raiders extra motivation. So, like I said, I personally, I just recently saw a score prediction of 24-13 Raiders. I could definitely see something like that happening. Especially where the Raiders on offense, a lot of ball control, time of possession. Hopefully Jimmy G can execute. He doesn't have to light up the scoreboard, right? Doesn't have to have a QB1 kind of performance, but, run the offense, right? Hopefully the defense itself takes care of business, and I don't see why they can't win. So maybe I'll predict something like that. Not a blowout, but maybe win by 6, anywhere between like 6 and 10 points, something like that.
Yeah, man. Real quick to chime in to me, I agree. Yeah, very tight game. This seems like a 26-23 game. This could go either ways. Hopefully, you obviously want to go in the Raiders' favor here, but this game, I feel like the Raiders have a shot to win this game because now from what we've seen in the preseason, less penalties, less turnovers, things like that. So this could be a tight ball control game. Whoever wins the time of possession battle and whoever wins the turnover battle could win this football game and will win this football game. This seems like a very 26-23 game, in my opinion. I'm hoping and I expect us to come out on top with a W. So we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and a lot of, as we saw last year, right? A lot of the Broncos' dysfunctionality, right? Obviously, as the last place team in the AFC West last year, obviously still trying to get used to Sean Payton and Sean Payton himself trying to get used to the roster. I think there could still be some dysfunctionality there, which I think the Raiders can and definitely should, take advantage of because. I really think this is a game that they need to have, especially to start off the season. You think about their game, the two games after this one, obviously at Buffalo, and then having to play the Steelers at Allegiant, a team that, to me at least, really seems like they're on the up and up. They seem like they've improved. And obviously, Kenny Pickett was able to eventually have the Raiders number in their game last year. So, I definitely think, you're talking about these first three games out of the gate. If they're not at least, 1-2, ideally, 2-1, it's going to be a very rough start to the season. And I think that this Broncos game is definitely one of the two games out of these first three that they need to have. I definitely think that, mentality-wise, coming out of this locker room, that's definitely the importance that they need to, assign to this game. That's definitely the gravity of the situation that I think they need to grab a hold of as they start the season.
Yeah. Dustin, you got anything to say?
Go Raiders. I think, like I said,
Facts.
if people could all be skeptic or however they want. We go to we might as well say, whose house is it? It's our house. Fuck, we beat them in their own house for every time we show up. They might as well just change it from the donkey to the Raider shield. So, and like I said, I think if we're running, I think if it's going to be shitty weather, I think 24-17, 27-17, but I believe that if the weather's good, I think we can be 34-17 easily. So I said, Sean Payton been out of the league for over a year, man. He hasn't fucking had the continuity with the team, dude. He's already backed down on his own fucking quarterback the second he got here just so he can glorify himself. The guy's already set it himself up to fail. So I don't care what people think. Sean Payton's been in the league a long time. He's been the Super Bowl one time. I even said, when Drew Brees retired, why didn't he stay there with Jameson Winston? All he would have to do is get Winston to quit throwing interceptions, and bam, he got a 5,000-yard quarterback and a fucking 32-plus touchdown quarterback. So it's not like he's just going to come over here and magically make this team just magically better. And yeah, last year's defense, I wouldn't argue the point of their defense. This year's defense ain't the same as last year's defense. So can't look at them like they're going to come at us the same way as they did last year. You got Bradley Chubbs breaking out of there. You got fucking BN on the IR, middle linebacker in the IR, multiple players on the injured reserve. So
their wide receiver core all banged up.
Their wide receiving core is depleted as hell. It's just like I said, we're going to be playing the Chargers here like we did in the last week of the season. The year before last? That's how it's going to be. It's how it's going to be. A depleted-ass team, and we're going to go in there and struggle. I don't think we're going to struggle. The Raiders, haven't had a fourth overall ranking team in the defensive side in the preseason probably in the last 20-some-odd years. So our defense is most definitely on the uprise. So people can sit and look at other teams on the uprise, but our team most definitely on the uprise. So I can't see the Broncos beating us. I just can't see it. But I've said this too. The way I feel like they would beat us is just because of the fact that we didn't play during the preseason with our starters and going in there and not having the consistency or the continuity of the players playing together and having little screw ups here and there. That's how I see us getting beat. But I don't see the Broncos going out there and just beating us. There's no way. Our receivers are way more dominant than theirs. Halfback, tight ends, fucking O line. Like I don't know where they're beating us at. And I don't care what Russell's done. Russell is fucking, I've said it even in last night's show on ours, he's been carried by other teams too. And I'm not going to sit and say that, oh, he's not a good quarterback or not. I'm not going to sit and go to that depth. I'm just saying that he isn't the guy that's just going to come out and lead his team to victory with Courtland Sutton that hasn't shown up for multiple years, hit and miss fucking guy. I mean, then who? Denzel Mims? Guys who just come out of college. He never even has taken a snap in the NFL.
Yeah, like man, you got like
Denzel
Mims,
Devontae Adams, and Renfro. Like hell, fuck we are. No, fuck we are. So I mean, like I said, I think the Broncos got a long ways to go. So I ain't gonna say, oh, Sean Payton can't be good in a year or so. But I don't think he's coming out here this year gonna be putting up no fucking 13-4 record. It ain't gonna be happening.
Yeah. Because the thing is, I want to revert to – I'm going to switch my camera on because I just switched location, but I also want to revert to a couple of points that you had there. The weather, from what I've seen all throughout the week, the weather has been iffy. It's been clear out in Denver, but for tomorrow's game, it's going to be a bit weird from what I see. An hour before game time, 15% chance of rain, but it's supposed to be thunderstorms. From what I see, starting like 4 in Denver. So it really depends. It seemed to be storming on and off. It seems like it will be storming on and off like throughout Sunday afternoon. So it depends how bad could that weather get. Could the weather be a factor in this game? Are we gonna run the ball more because of the weather? It's all things that we need to find out. And I feel like if we're reverting back to the Pittsburgh game, which is the last, I guess bad weather. Well, it was mainly more like a cold weather game. It was more like a cold weather game where it's like how, like we somewhat messed. I don't know how to put this, but it was mainly more Carr going out there throwing the ball rather than running the ball in a cold weather game, for what I've seen, and that's what. Because I remember the pressers after that game, Jacob was talking about when it's a cold weather game or it's a game kind of like that, you got to establish a good run game. And that's why we end up somewhat losing that game, because it seemed like, to me, if we're reverting back a bit, a lot of that second half, I think we had like 7 drives, but half of them were picks and punts. So it's like if we go back in that rabbit hole, then we can't win this game. But I feel that if we could get out of that, we just need a solid bounce, because we know with Jimmy G is not going to go out there and throw the ball 50 times. He's not going to go out there slinging the rock 40, 50 times. But he's not – I don't expect him to be like a Mac Jones that only throw 3 passes. I feel like a good balance for him, he gets about 20 – I'm thinking about between like 20 and 30 passes. But I feel like deep in this game, once the weather really starts getting bad out there, then we'll definitely start running the ball more up to that point.
Camera. There you go. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, obviously, as we know, as is the case with football, common sense, when the weather, is not ideal, offensively, depending on your run game. And so just from a talent standpoint right away, I'm, and as well as a health standpoint, because as I mentioned earlier, Javonte Williams is still a question mark. How durable is he going to be? What's he going to look like? But talent-wise, definitely go advantage Raiders, obviously, having Josh Jacobs, back in the mix, obviously. And, obviously, Jacobs having the success that he's had throughout his career, not only in terms of production individually, but in terms of his undefeated record throughout his career against the Broncos. I definitely think that'll be a big factor as well. So obviously a offense that already wants to run the ball a lot. With Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, I definitely think they're going to stick to that kind of script. I think you're going to see a really big workload for Josh Jacobs. One of the only question marks I would say is are we going to see contributions from the likes of Brandon Bolden? Our other guys is Zamir White going to get in there? So we'll seeing sort of whether or not McDaniels approaches the run game in a committee fashion. That I think will be another thing to look for as well. But like I said, I still think advantage Raiders as far as the run game, and I expect them to attempt to really control the clock and time of possession to keep Russell Wilson and the offense off the field as well as tire out the Broncos defense.
Yep. And that's why time of possession is going to win this ball game, and it's like we have a good amount of advantages, even though we have some guys that are out. We have some guys who are going to be out and in on both sides of the ball. Like, just to break some news real quick for the people who haven't heard about it yet, Brandon Faison is on IR. So with that move, we didn't have to worry because at first he was exempt from the roster, meaning that he didn't count. Now with the move to Faison moving Brandon Faison to the IR list freed up a spot for Jacobs now. So also another move on the Denver side of the ball now is that they have activated our former receiver, actually from like a few weeks ago, Philip Dorsett, and they've also added Lil Jordan Humphrey, the former Saints receiver, to the 53. So they're expected to get some run in this game against us.
Is that his real name? I've always wondered that. I know I've seen his name as Lil Jordan, but is that a nickname? I'm sorry, I can't.
I'm not even sure myself. I think it's his actual name. I'm not sure. I'm gonna need to look this up though.
Okay, yeah. Because he was with the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me try to do a little lookup. Yeah, I mean, according to his Wikipedia page, anyway, it says Lil Jordan Humphrey. So that's his name.
Is his name?
Yeah.
That's his name.
That's his name.
That's his name. That is his apparently proper name, unless yeah.
Or he changed it like Ocho Cinco did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he legally changed his name. I mean, I think Lil Jordan was born with this name, but yeah, I mean, obviously, you talk about, the Broncos receiving core, obviously with the injury to Jerry Jeudy, they're more, they're obviously, somewhat depleted. Once again, if we're talking position groups, advantage Raiders for obvious reasons. Again, obviously one of the things to watch game within the game, which has been, at least, dating back to last year, a big story with these games we play against the Broncos is, Devontae Adams versus Patrick Surtain. Obviously, last year we saw, the famous, he's not there yet statement from Devontae Adams after his game winner in Denver in overtime. So now, this is sort of, at least for Pat Surtain's sake, this is sort of a test, to start off the year again of, is he there yet, right? Like, can he, has he improved enough to at least somewhat contain the likes of Devontae Adams? I mean, obviously, this is a guy who, given his caliber, is going to get a ton of targets, is going to eat, is not going to be, a minor part.
He said, they asked him, how do you feel about the Surtain and the Broncos? He said, I'm 2-0 against them and can't wait to be 3-0 against them. Fucking guys.
Yeah. I mean, there you go. I mean, to me, it's not easy for the Raiders, but it's simple in terms of as long as the Raiders do not shoot themselves in the foot as long as they play disciplined football and they do not leave the door open for the Broncos. I think this definitely, like I said, it should be a win. There really is no reason for the Raiders to lose this game, other than, like I said, self-inflicted wounds. But obviously, as is the case with Week 1 football, pretty much, every season, you have growing pains right throughout the season. You have, the progression of chemistry building up. You have, guys trying to figure out each other's tendencies. So, like I said, we might see a little bit of a learning curve with this Raiders team, but at the end of the day, even though it is only Week 1, like I said, I think at least to start the season, this feels like a must-win game, not only because you get off on the right foot, but because it's a divisional matchup, and you want to have the tiebreaker moving forward. Salute Ozzy. Hopping in, was there anything you wanted to add?
Hey, bro.
No, pretty much just want to come in and share 24 some support.
Pretty much, the links in there.
Yeah, cheers, bro. Pretty much what I said yesterday, man.
Oh, there you are.
It's just, sweet, bro. Just wanted to they're going to make sure they keep to the fundamentals. Like, don't make fundamental mistakes like we've done in the past, especially on defense. One thing I will add, though, is what you guys were saying earlier about the run. Someone got their radio on or something?
Is that Dustin?
Is there like a TV in the background or something? Oh,
Yeah, my kid.
oh, good. Yeah, we're good now. So what I was saying is that I don't see it necessarily being like predominantly run. Like when you guys are saying we're more of a running team, I kind of disagree a little bit because last year we were like 59% passing, and then like 41% pretty much running. So I can kind of see like if the run game gets like blocked up, like if they just start stacking the box heavily to stop Josh Jacobs, which they might do, then I can see it going to like a short to intermediate passing game to the tight ends and Hunter Renfrow and maybe Tucker on a slant, that kind of thing. So just open it back up again. But I can see us running the ball more in this game if we can open up the box, so to speak, or depending how well our offensive line performs against some stacked box.
Yeah, because I know we've had made some moves like Red Van Rose is now started in right guard, so I'm not sure how the offense
What?
AJ, I can't really hear you. If you turn your volume up.
Seems like you're walking away from the mic.
Oh yeah, it's got to be that.
Yeah,
What I'm saying, can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah.
You know.
All right.
Yeah, now
so
that
what I
you
was
came back
saying.
to the mic, we can most definitely hear you.
All right. So what I was saying now is now that Greg Van Roten is starting in at right guard, how would that affect like our running lanes? I'm not sure how that would really affect our running lanes, but we could see with the new, I guess, like a new change to our line, I guess, something like that.
I gotta
That's
agree,
all
and
I
I
just
think
wanted to
Rodman
refer
would be
to.
an upgrade over Bars.
Anything's an upgrade over Bars, bro.
Yeah, true that.
Yep.
At the Bills, Rodman played left guard, center, and right guard, so he's very versatile. I think that's why they kept him, and he's also very strong in the run game. So I think that's one of the reasons why they got him. He was like my number one guy I wanted to get as far as offensive line and free agency, so I'm glad we got him finally.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean I definitely say that'd be an interesting position to watch for this team, just because as far as the O line has been concerned, those two positions, the right side of the offensive line, right guard and right tackle,
You ready to go in there real quick?
that have been a question mark, right?
I'll be back in 1 minute.
Where is it going to be the same O line, throughout the year? So obviously this is a huge opportunity for Greg Van Roten. As you guys mentioned, obviously opening up those running lanes, that's going to be a huge part of what the Raiders are probably going to try to do. So is he going to be able to get the job done, right? So that I think is definitely going to be a big thing to watch, right? Because if he's not getting the job done, then I would say they'd probably need to make an adjustment at that position. So Obviously, and Illuminor is starting at right tackle, right? Is that
Yep.
is that been confirmed? Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, I would also say that he would be an interesting guy to keep an eye on as well throughout the game, just because obviously there were some issues with penalties last year. But I believe, when you factor in like PFF grades and whatnot, um, arguably he played his best football from an advanced statistic or football grade sort of standpoint. So um, I guess kind of a mixed bag from Illuminor last year. Hopefully, if he cuts down the penalties, he should be fine. But obviously, from the O line in general, and I've been saying this throughout the offseason now, especially since this team has acquired Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, as first and foremost, a guy who's not a mobile quarterback, right? Obviously, likes to stay in the pocket, and also is a guy who
Cut
has
myself out. Sorry.
unfortunately had problems with injuries in the past. I really think from this O line as a whole, the protection has to be there. The likes of Randy Gregory, who obviously is going to be playing, I guess, with a little bit of an extra motivation, I guess, to show up the
Show off
haircut
the Mark
style
Davis bowl
of what
cut.
Mark Davis. Right. Yeah. So he's going to have, he's going to be firing through, you know, all kinds of gaps. He's going to be trying to get to the quarterback. Not only for this game, but obviously throughout the season, right? The protection is going to have to be there. I think, if I remember correctly, Derek Carr, I can double check the stat, but I believe he was tied for 12th most sacked quarterback last year. So, I would say that, the O
I
line
think he
definitely
should have
has.
been in the 20s, to be honest. Like, or 15. Yeah, I should reckon he should have been close to 20. He didn't sack himself about 5 or 6 times.
True.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say, the Raiders would definitely have to be in terms of, or it boils down to Jimmy Garoppolo getting sacked, which is in his case is probably not going to be his fault because, like I said, he's not moving out of the pocket, in and out of the pocket a lot. But I definitely would like to see this team be, in the upper 20, 30th percentile, as far as Jimmy Garoppolo getting sacked. So, I think that's going to be a big storyline too. I mean, obviously, as far as tomorrow's game is concerned, you don't want to have him, injured right away to start the season. So especially in that intermediate passing game, which is, as Ozzy pointed out, is probably going to be the kind of passing game that they're going to use, not only in this game but throughout the season. I think they're
Yep.
going to have to, like I said, really protect up front because obviously a pocket passer like Jimmy G is not going to really extend the plays on his own.
I think
But
the only
you
way
can't
he's really
really
gonna
go ahead.
he did a little bit at sorry, he did a little bit at the Niners where he would scramble outside a little bit here and there, but he's more of like navigating the pocket. I think that's something he might do better than Carr, but it remains to be seen. Is that like no offense to I hate talking on his name, but there's times when I see Carr like literally walking to the arse of his lineman, and you can't deny that it's on film. Like he's done it so many times, and it was so fucking frustrating to watch. Whereas I feel like Jimmy is more better at navigating inside the pocket. If that like kind of like what Brady did with not being mobile, where you kind of like step up and navigate within the pocket rather than being able to scramble outside of the pocket.
Yep.
But I have
Another
seen Jimmy even roll out a few times on the 49ers games, to be honest. Like he
yep.
can do it here and there, but he's not gonna do it like a lot.
Yep. And another thing that Derek, I'd say that Jimmy has that Derek doesn't, I'd say, is that even though Jimmy doesn't really extend plays all that often, he doesn't also hold on to the ball to a point where he lets his line crumble. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he doesn't hold it for 5 or 6 seconds. That's for sure.
Yeah. Like where Jimmy, he sees someone, he gets that ball out. And that's what I feel like that's why they probably got Jimmy G and just let him walk. Well, even though everyone's criticizing the move, like, oh, we have Devontae. Devontae wants to get traded out of here. No, he doesn't. He said he loves it here. That's like, man, there's a lot. Like, there's more than just we're not going to be throwing, even though we're not going to be throwing it deep like we have last year. We're going to be more consistent than last year. And I'd rather have the consistency over the deep ball any day of the week.
Well, the problem partly with last year is Derek Carr went deep too often. That's why he got so many interceptions.
Yep, that's true.
Because sometimes you got to use the short to intermediate passing game to set up the deep ball. Use the run to set up the deep ball. You can't just fling it every fucking time. Otherwise, that's how you get lots of turnovers. Like
Mhm.
that's like what Jameis Winston did when he was 30 for 30. You know what I mean? Like,
We needed
and
30 for 30 on that season, by the way.
yeah, the actual
Um,
yeah. No, I was kind of making fun of the TV show there a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when he had 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, because he just threw it deep like every fucking time.
Yep.
yeah, exactly. I would agree too. I mean, looking back on it, definitely does. It really does feel, or did feel, as though Derek Carr was not the kind of quarterback, for the kind of offense that McDaniels wanted to run. Um, you obviously compare what they're probably going to do throughout this year compared to last year. I would argue that I would expect to see, especially tomorrow, a lot of runs on first and second down, just to get it to the yard to gain, just to be manageable. And then they're going to start to revert to that intermediate passing game, where you mentioned, Ozzy. A lot of the usage of the tight ends. Obviously big targets. We know Jimmy G works well with tight ends. Obviously they have a plethora of slot receivers to
On and
rely
off
on.
the field.
What's up?
I was joking. I said on and off the field.
Oh,
And he
right.
said he
Yeah,
works well
exactly.
with tight ends. So yeah. Go
He
ahead.
does. Yes. We all know that Jimmy G loves his tight ends, but yeah. So exactly. I mean, you know, yeah, I would say their bread and butter is going to be a lot of like I said, intermediate, to short passing game. Just try to convert, a lot on, third and medium to third and short. Just sort of have very much more methodical drives, try to control the clock, and hopefully, come out on top as far as converting, a lot of drives into touchdowns, right? Because obviously, red zone efficiency was an aspect of the offense, of this Raiders offense last year, that struggled. So obviously, that's one of the one of the, as far as metrics goes, probably one of the most determining factors as far as winning and losing games. So obviously, you're going to want to clean that up as well. As we know, Jimmy G does have a good record historically when it comes to red zone production. So hopefully that I think will be a big factor throughout the season as well. But having said that, I do think there will be deep balls. Obviously you want to keep that as part of any offense, right? No matter how conservative it might tend to be. So I think we're definitely going to see at least some kind of attempts down the field. And don't be surprised. I would say you try to get maybe like a sneaky Trey Tucker, sneaking into the secondary for some kind of big pass completion. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach the offense. But like I said, those kinds of aspects to their offense, I would expect them, especially tomorrow, to to really try to emphasize, because I really don't think this Denver defense is going to give up chunk plays. They're not going to be able, they're not going to get exposed a lot. And like I said, I think they, at least their defense should be able to keep them in the game. So like I said, just a matter of controlling the clock and ultimately converting on touchdowns for the Raiders.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And then another thing I'll add with the Tucker thing is I can kind of see what they're doing, what they did in Cincinnati, where they'll get it to Tucker on like a little underneath route, because he can be very, very elusive when he's got the ball in his hands. So he might take like a 3 or 4 yard catch, and then he might be able to get it into the secondary or even take it to the house.
Yep. Also, 2 words I wanted to bring up real quick that could determine this game for us: red zone efficiency.
Right.
It cost us last year. How efficient are we going to be in the red zone this year and then in this game?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, any way you cut it, even if you're settling for field goals, right? Every time you do that, that's a 4-point opportunity cost as far as, how many points you could have gotten versus how many points you do. So obviously, 3 is okay. And, as a fan, right, you say, all right, we can settle for a field goal, but too many, all right. And all of a sudden, the other team's in the game. So, a lot of it is going to depend on, as you said, as I think we're all in agreement, just converting on those in the red zone, right? Like, and it's 7 points versus 3, right? And for those of you who don't think it's a lot, football
Only
is a
time I
game.
want a 3-point. Only time I want to take a 3-point is if it makes it a 2-score or 3-score game.
Yep.
Otherwise, I want touchdowns.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah, and oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh,
well, I just want to say, I was just going to say, I mean, when the Patriots were in their heyday, right? Obviously, with McDaniels at the controls of the offense, first of all, they were scoring a lot, whether it was touchdowns or field goals. But you definitely you had 3 to 4 touchdowns, maybe 2, 3 field goals sprinkled in. So right then and there, that's usually, I mean, especially also given how well that defense was playing in those days for the Patriots. That was their ticket to success. So having more field goals and touchdowns is probably not going to cut it. So like I said, a lot of it's going to depend on conversion within the red zone.
Yep, another ticket to their success was staying ahead of the chains on first and second down. That's why I feel like first and second down, we're not really going to be airing the ball out. More or less like check down to the tight end or running the ball with Jacobs, especially like if like we've seen that curve in the preseason. If we could stay ahead on first and second down, and if it could be like let's say a 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 1. Then we're in a really good spot. They don't know what we're gonna do. We could throw it, or we could run it. Like that's what the advantage of staying ahead is. Like that, the defense they don't fully know what you're gonna do, especially on 3rd and 2s. Like if you have a guy like Jacobs in the backfield and you're running like 2 tight ends, they expect a run. Yet you could go to Hooper, you could go to Mayer, you could go to Adams, you could go to Renfro. It doesn't matter.
That's when you can set a good play action too. With that.
Yep. A strong run game really sets up the play action well, and we got to see how that could. I guess how that would. I'd say we got to see how our run game will set up the play action. Would it set it up for an intermediate game? Would it set it up for a deep ball game? It just depends. I'm expecting an intermediate game. I feel like the deepest pass probably be about 20, 25 yards. I don't expect no 70-yard bombs or nothing. Just staying ahead of the sticks is the main goal.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I would predict, or maybe not predict, but one thing that I would definitely say to keep an eye out for is using Trey Tucker in a variety of ways, right? Like really being the wild card of this offense, right? Because based on what we saw in the preseason, they were putting him at every different kind of way they could. So don't expect, don't be
also
surprised.
using him as a decoy. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would say the beauty of having Devontae Adams is to use him as a decoy. But yeah, especially if Trey Tucker begins to really start to, take advantage of defenses, they're going to start to prepare for him because, right now as a rookie, I'm sure a lot of, opposing defenses or defensive coordinators don't exactly know how McDaniels plans to use him. But I would say, like I said, don't be surprised if he's going to be doing some jet sweeps, getting some rush yards, right? Maybe a lot of all-purpose kind of performances throughout the year from him. So I mean, like I said, this could be a guy who really could be almost kind of like the glue or like the driving force of this offense, right? Because he's shown, especially in the preseason, the ability to get open, the ability to get open, for those deep balls, one-on-one sort of situations. Obviously, has the speed. And like I said, he's sort of the right body type for, end around sort of run. Like I said, those kind of jet sweeps. So I think it could be a very versatile tool for the Raiders as well. And maybe that's something that we'll see come tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with that. And also, we could possibly, I'd say, that with the jet sweeps, what packages are we going to run them out of? Are we going to run them out of Are we gonna run like 3 receivers? Are we gonna run 2 tight ends? Like, are we gonna run? Because another thing I've seen, like, throughout the season, even in that Monday nighter against Kansas City, that worked really well was those 6 offensive lineman sets, where you throw one for eligible and you have him as that 6th offensive lineman. Could we see that again?
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that the Patriots, have used in the past, right? Like a jumbo tight end, sort of package, right? So, yeah, I mean, obviously, the possibilities are limitless. You've thrown that extra O lineman. You really could, open up some holes in the run game. But yeah, as far as Trey Tucker's concerned, I would love to see, because this is my kind of style, but obviously, I'm not Josh McDaniels, so we'll have to see how he approaches it. But I love those sort of like, 3rd and short, maybe 4th and short, got to have it kind of plays. You set up in the I formation, but you have him run a jet sweep across the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden, timing, hand it off to him, uses speed, runs around the end, gets the first down. So that I would love to see something like that. Obviously, once again in these short yardage situations, maybe like a little out route right to the sideline, to go for a first down, or so that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be crazy, it doesn't have to be sexy, but like I said, they could use them in a variety of ways. Because obviously, McDaniels attempted that last year with Devontae Adams, trying to do these kind of like, jet sweep gadget kind of plays. And I would say just because it's Devontae Adams, the fact that he's lining up in a weird way kind of tips the defense off. So that's why I think that was not successful. So, like I said, given that, the NFL at large does not know very much about Trey Tucker as well as how McDaniels plans to use Trey Tucker, I definitely think this first week 1 game is a great opportunity, for McDaniels to really, unleash him in a variety of ways, in ways that are unpredictable, to really become a headache for opposing defensive coordinators.
Yep. Oz, you have anything to add on to this, or anything you want to add on to this?
Yeah, I would agree with like what you were saying about Tucker. I can see him being like utilized in a lot of ways, like you guys are saying. The one thing I'll go back to what you were saying earlier with the deep pass, though. To me, a deep pass is anything that's classified as 20 plus, like 20 yards or more. So when I say intermediate, I'm talking more from like 10 up to 20.
10, 15?
Right, 10 to 20.
Yeah.
Right. At the
10 to 20. Whereas short is like, anything up to like under 10 yards. Like, that's short. Yeah. So that when I say intermediate, I'm talking like, and it could be anything from like 10 to 20 yards to the tight ends. Like, you're picking up like 11 yards or 12 yards in one pass, that kind of thing. So you're still getting first downs that way. But you're not throwing like, 20 plus.
Yeah.
Which is something I noticed New England did a lot with Tom Brady a lot of the time. And then you throw the occasional deep shot in here and there.
Yep.
That's what I can kind of see McDaniels doing, because you got Hooper, you got Mayer. I've already gone out on the limb and said I expect Mayer to have like a really like big first game, not big in the sense like he might get 100 yards. I doubt it though, but he's going to have a big impact in this game. I think whether it's blocking in the run game or whether it's catching. I think he's going to have a big impact on the game.
Yep, like I can see something like. I could see Mayer possibly getting we all know we know Hooper as of now on the depth chart is the tight end 1 and Mayer is the tight end 2. So I'm thinking a lot of 2 tight end sets. I feel like Mayer is probably going to get about I'd say 4 to 6 catches in this first game. I'd say 4 to 6 catches.
I agree with that.
About 50 yards, 50, 60.
And I can see him getting 1 or 2 touchdowns, especially in the red zone.
Oh, yeah, especially in the red zone, yep. Like now with 2 solid tight ends, our red zone threat becomes more difficult. We got 2 solid tight ends. We got the best receiver in the game. We got the best running back in the game.
We got Trey Tucker too.
Yep, and we got Trey Tucker.
Trey Tucker's speed in the red zone can be like really good, like you guys were saying with jet sweeps. Like if we use it. Imagine if we it's first and goal. You use you surprise and run a jet sweep or something.
Yep, like those jet sweeps, end arounds.
Yeah, the end around.
Like you catch them Yep, like jet sweeps, end arounds, crossing routes. Like you could catch him. You could use Tucker or anything, honestly. Like Jeff, you referred to the out routes in a sense. Like they're playing off coverage. You could hit Trey Tucker on an out route, see if he could get some rack or get
I
like some
agree.
back, or
That's
if he
why
could
I
just
feel
get
like
out of
Tucker's going to
bounds.
be that. Yeah, I agree totally. Because I feel like Tucker's going to be that gadget player. Like he's just going to be used in a whole range of stuff.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would also say, and this is sort of this I definitely think um something that Jimmy G will, definitely have to rework as far as narratives with him are concerned. And that's arm talent, right? Because, I definitely think that everything we've been saying about, the Raiders really succeeding in that short to intermediate passing game, will definitely be true. But as I also said, you still have to, pay homage to the value of the deep ball, right? Because if you don't, then these defenses are going to start betting on the come that you're not going to throw it deep, and so they can, stack the box, or they can sort of, not sit in zone as much. So because of that, I think they're still going to have a decent amount of attempts down the field, even if you don't convert, right? Just to keep the defense honest, from a deep cover three or kind of a zone standpoint.
Mhm.
Just to throw them somewhat of a curveball, not become too stale, because that's when defensive coordinators start to really predict you. So
Oh yeah,
um,
that's true.
yeah, so I would say, that's where, I would say, I don't know if I want to say disappointed, but that's where I thought at least Philip Dorsett, I thought that was going to be his role in this offense. I mean, obviously, we have not been at training camp or practice with the team, so we don't know what the Raiders have seen or not saw or did not see from Philip Dorsett, but a deep threat, would really be an important part of this offense, I'd say, because you think about Trey Tucker, right, who I think really could also succeed when it comes to underneath routes, right? If we're talking about a route tree, if he's just sort of releasing, into the flat or whatnot, he's wide open. That's really Jimmy G's kind of wheelhouse. So, obviously we know that Devontae Adams has an ability to go, to score a deep touchdown or to, receive deep balls. Um, Obviously, that could definitely be a big part of this offense as well. As far as like a speed demon, maybe
Just
that's
to sorry,
what's
sorry to
up.
interject. So sorry
Yeah,
to
go for it.
interject, but I just wanted to say when you're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo's accuracy, he's actually never had anything since 2018 under 67% completion. Like he's never
Well,
been less than a
well,
since 2018, and he's also had a year where he's had 69 completion percentage and a 68 in there as well. And so
but
yeah, so
what
I was
kind
just
of
gonna
what
say,
kind of air yards are on those attempts on average though?
just a minute.
Because what I'm saying is, obviously the more you gamble, right, throwing it down the field.
8.4, 8.4, 8.3,
Okay.
7.2, and
Yeah.
8.3,
So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you think about
which is
on
still pretty
average, you're
decent.
throwing lots of the first down. I mean, I don't know how that stacks up against other quarterbacks, but all I'm saying is, you think about the flow of a game, right? If obviously if you're gambling down the field, your completion percentage, is going to take a hit. That's what we saw with like quarterbacks like way back in the day, right before the West Coast offense was ever invented. These guys would just throw the bomb every play.
Yep.
Obviously, we're not going to do that. But what I'm saying is, you have to at least integrate it into the offense. So one of the things I think I'm going to be looking to see as far as this offense is concerned is how often they're going to try the deep ball, right? Because obviously, you know, with Derek Carr last year, he obviously has much more of an appetite, or much more of a desire to try to gamble downfield.
Yeah, well,
Oh
On
yeah.
the
just for a comparison, because I do hate bringing him up, but just for comparison, like this last year, right? Jimmy G would have been like 7.9. Derek Carr was a little bit less. Hang on. Yeah, 6.7, right? And then the year before that, Derek Carr was 7.4. Jimmy again was around 8. So like his accuracy and his air yards is about the same anyway. Like it's roughly the same.
Okay, so that's even better, right? Because like I
Yeah,
said, I mean,
the air yards are roughly the same because the other 2 years before that, Derek Carr had around 8, and so did Jimmy. So
Okay. Yeah. So
The
yeah.
air yards per attempt is around the same.
Right. And obviously we're not looking for Jimmy G to be Brett Favre, right? We're not looking for him
Exactly.
to launch one downfield every play. But like I said, I mean, you still have to make sure that the defense respects it, right? Because otherwise, these defensive coordinators in their preparation throughout the week are going to be like, oh, well, they're basically a run team with their pass game. So, um, you know, like I said, you do want to be able to, take the top off the defense, right? You do want to be able to throw some of those deep balls at him. So I would, like I said, I mean, another thing I'm going to be looking for in this game is who's going to function as that deep threat, right? I mean, to me, there, I don't know if a receiver on this depth chart right now I would consider like a deep threat specialist. Maybe that's Trey Tucker, right? But
Yeah,
and that would,
possibly.
what?
I'd say possibly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would also make him even more versatile than all the things we were already saying. So, if he's the one grabbing those deep balls, and like I said, you don't even have to convert on these deep balls, right? Even if you overthrow them, whatever. Just the fact that you're attempting it, I would say, like I said, keeps the defense honest. So, if there is a receiver that emerges as the deep threat, obviously that would be nice, but it's probably going to be Trey Tucker just because if we're talking vertical down the field kind of track speed, between him and Devontae Adams for that kind of role. So that'd be interesting to see as well. I mean, I think that's going to be a big part of their offense as well.
Oh yeah.
Well, we kind of saw it in the last game. I mean, not the last game, the second last game. I think it was against the Rams.
Was it the Rams? Yeah.
Yeah, well, they used Tucker quite a bit deep.
Yeah, they did. I think
Yeah,
he had
yeah,
something
exactly.
about like 120 yards in that game, I think.
No, you're thinking of
Check it real
Wilkerson.
quick.
Wilkerson had 120. I think Tucker
Yeah,
had
he had
like
120
80.
Cowboys.
Yeah, I think you could be right. It might have been Tucker in that game.
I think it was. Let me check this real quick.
I think it was something between 80 to 100 yards in that game, something like that. He had about 3 or 4 big catches.
Yep. Let me see if he's here. Let's see if there's any stats right now. I'm trying to pull them up.
Probably because they don't count preseason. They usually
For
don't count
Trey
preseason.
Tucker. Yeah.
You'd have to type in Raiders vs. Rams 2023, and then you might be able to find the stats that way.
Yeah. Usually what I do like Raiders games or whatever, and then it gives you a list of games, and you like
you got to go off Google, and then you got to look up the actual game. Yeah, the game stats.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Yep. So in that game, let me see. Receiving Trey Tucker, he had 3 receptions for 66 yards.
Yeah, 66.
And then Dorsett,
and he dropped like 3 in that game too. So yeah, he would have been over 100 had he caught the other one.
Yep. I think, didn't he catch like a touchdown? Or he dropped a touchdown. I think so. Potential.
Yeah, he dropped a touchdown as well, yeah.
I think it was from Hoyer, right? Or was it from O'Connor?
Aiden. It was from Aiden.
Aiden, yeah.
Are you talking about that deep ball? Was it against the Niners, I think? Kind of late in the game, like second half.
Yeah, and they used him a bit in the Cowboys game as well.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. And mainly that Cowboys game, it was mainly just Christian Wilkerson in that game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in Christian Wilkerson, right? I completely forgot about him. He's going to be interesting to watch too, right? Obviously, had a great preseason. I see him more as just a great possession receiver. A guy probably going to catch a considerable amount of balls this year. Maybe not that much of a yak guy, but obviously we'll see. But once again, another guy, another.
Sorry, I keep logging myself out because I'm using the phone.
Oh, you're all good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when we've been talking about offense this whole time, just because I think that is really going to be the biggest matchup, right? Like this offense versus the Broncos defense, like what it's going to look like. But um, I would also say, another big part of this game obviously is going to be the Raiders defense as well, right? Obviously, you don't obviously, one of these things, the one of the issues that this defense has had over the past several years is being able to stop the run game, especially up the middle. So are we going to see the likes of Byron Young? Is he going to get a lot of playing time? What is that defensive tackle position, especially in those 3-4 looks? Who's going to anchor the defensive line there? Especially if and because I believe Sean Payton hinted at a big workload for his running back duo in this Week 1 game. Um, so obviously, I think stopping the run is going to be a big part of this game, just because the more pressure you can put on Russell Wilson to connect with his receivers, um, you know, all of whom did not exactly do very well last year, and obviously losing Jerry Jeudy that only makes matters worse for them as well. So, like I said, I mean, I think
Patrick's also been out for the last 2 years.
who?
Tim Patrick.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about Tim Patrick.
Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Fake Thugs.
Right. Right, Mr. Fake though. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, once again, that not a guy. Is he active for this game? Do we know?
He's
'Cause I mean,
he's out for the season again.
oh, he is. Oh, geez. All right. Well, that was fun while it lasted. But yeah, I mean, like I
Which player
said,
were
I
you
mean,
guys talking about?
Tim Patrick.
Patrick.
Isn't he out?
Yeah, he's out for the season.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, it sucks to be them right now. They've got no receivers.
All they really have is what is Cortland. I need to check. I don't even think Cortland Sutton is playing.
Because maybe they got Cortland, but then Mims hasn't. I don't think has even played a snap in the NFL yet.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, especially if Cortland Sutton's not playing, um, I mean, the receiving core for the Broncos, it really just seems like there's a big lack of weaponry there. So to me, you're thinking about talent, you're thinking about you know guys that can do something for this offense. Like I said, I mean, I think it's their running backs, right? I mean, obviously, we know Javonte Williams has talent. How many carries is he going to get? That's obviously a decision that
I
goes
think
up to Sean Payton.
Javante is also carrying an injury. I think too from last year. So
Right,
never
yeah.
going to
So
see
he's
it.
obviously, you know, he's trying to get healthy from that, and obviously that was a huge injury. It was a multiple ligament injury in his knee. So how is that going to play out, right? So that's um, that's going to be a big storyline as well. Let's see who else is. Let me just double. I guess I'll just double check their depth chart.
What the Broncos depth chart or our
Yeah,
depth chart?
Broncos depth
Broncos
chart.
depth chart. All right, let me check it. Let me take a little look at this real quick. Let me see. They have the unofficial depth chart set here, but it seems like they don't have the depth chart set for this game, from what I see. But from what I see on the unofficial depth chart, they have Marvin Williams behind Jerry Jeudy. But what were you looking for on that depth chart?
So the running back, obviously, right. They have Samaje Perine.
Yeah, Samaje Perine.
So we know that he is an All-Pro candidate. Yeah, but I mean, other than that, I mean, you're not looking at a lot of talent here. I mean, yeah. So Cortland Sutton, he's obviously first on the depth chart. The rookie Marvin Mims, he might be a guy to look out for. I guess you're looking at a little Jordan Humphrey. He's probably going to get involved. But I mean, like I said, this is another reason for the Raiders to really, to really make a statement here, especially on defense, right? I mean, the biggest matchup we're going to see is who's going to be on Cortland Sutton, right? Because Did you figure out whether or not he was healthy?
Cortland Sutton. Let me see.
Yeah.
Take a look at that. Let me see. Yeah, from right now, I'm thinking Cortland Sutton is likely in. From what I see, I think he's in.
He's playing okay. Yeah. So.
Yep.
I mean, that to me is probably the biggest, from a receiving standpoint, biggest thing to worry about as far as the Broncos go. Who's gonna be on them? Is it gonna be Marcus Peters? Is it gonna be Ja'Cory Bennett? Is it gonna be Nate Hobbs? That would be interesting to see. Obviously, at least from what I remember, the Raiders have not had a lot of problems with Cortland Sutton. If anything, they've had a little bit of trouble with Jerry Jeudy, just because of the kind of receiver he's sort of ended up being in the NFL. So, I mean, like I said, Marvin Mims does present somewhat of a, I don't know if I want to say concern, but he's still somewhat of a wild card in this game, just because as a rookie, what is he going to look like? How is he going to be used? Because to be fair, you can say the same thing that we've been saying about Trey Tucker, about him, right? Like, in what ways is Sean Payton going to use him? Obviously, this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Obviously, now we're playing meaningful football, so we're going to see strategically what kind of things do these coaches, roll out, right? I mean, and here's like another thing, which might sort of take the fun out of it as Raiders fans, but could definitely be a realistic possibility. Just because it's his first year, maybe throughout this, off season, Sean Payton has come to not really like the personnel that's on this roster. Maybe we're seeing a tank from the Broncos, right? Just to get a high draft pick. So, I mean, if that's the case,
throw your star under the bus, or throw Mr. Les Rod under the bus.
Hey, no worries,
everybody.
Yeah,
that's sort of like. So that would probably be the biggest argument against tanking from Sean Payton's standpoint. Like, obviously, you've bought into this job, and therefore you've bought into this quarterback. So do you want to sabotage him? Because this is a huge contract that he's, that the Broncos are dealing with when it comes to him now. So, I mean, I would say, tanking for the sake of sabotaging him doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But if he's going to continue this level of play that he showed the world last year, it does seem like the Broncos are going to be stuck with a pretty bad contract as far as having given up those picks to get him, having paid him all that money, still continuing to pay him all that money.
True.
But obviously, him tanking would obviously be good, because that would be that much easier of a win for this team. But every indication that I've seen so far seems to show that they're not going to tank. In fact, it does seem as though the Broncos are playing with a certain kind of confidence, as if they feel they can and will beat this team. In which case, obviously, this is why you play the game, right? We're going to have to see, but. On paper, looking at everything, I would just say the Raiders should come out on top. Does anyone know what the line is? I guess I could double check.
I think
last time I heard,
like
we were
3.5.
underdogs by 3.5, which is like, what the fuck? How the fuck did they figure that out?
Broncos are 3.5-point favorites.
That's what I'm saying. They had the Broncos as favorites.
Right now they're.
3.5.
Let me see. Right now, it looks like the Broncos are 3-point favorites.
So it dropped a little bit, 0.5.
Yep.
Don't see the fuck how.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, they're pretty much
I don't think that, though.
It looks like the over/under is 43 as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I don't see this as a huge kind of scoring game. Because whether it's the incompetent offense of the Broncos, or it's the competent defense of the Broncos, I mean, so like I said, for example, you think about 22-16. That's just under, that under of 43.5. So, like I said, I mean, if we're talking, I would predict like a 23-13, maybe 24-13 kind of a win. As you mentioned, AJ, maybe 26 points. But I
Mhm.
still think once we get to 30, I think that's a little excessive from
Yep.
either team.
Yep. It just feels like a 26-20 game across the board. I feel like
Right.
it's going to be, it could be like 26-20, 24-13. We'll throw this out like, let's say, like 23-14. This game could go a lot of ways, but it's no team. I don't feel like us nor Denver is gonna get over 30 at all. And if we do, we gotta be firing on all cylinders or something for us to get over 30. But another thing I want to bring up here real quick about one thing I want to bring up real quick about this, I guess somewhat this game is that right now from some of the predictions I'm seeing, they have some lean towards the Raiders from what I'm seeing. Sports, but this is USA Today. Right now I'm checking right quick. The Raiders right now 21-17 is their prediction, which I feel is very realistic. In my eyes, this is
I
a
got
realistic
34-10, but yeah.
score.
I
What,
think we got,
34-10?
yeah.
Man, I hope so.
If we,
Man, if we put
yeah,
34 on them,
if our defense looks like it did against the 49ers game, like our actual starting defense, not our fucking
Yup.
backup, I
Yup.
can see us easily having a similar fucking thing against Denver. Because, like, Denver's defense ain't better than the 49ers defense, and their offense is sure as shit ain't as good as the 49ers, so I'm just saying.
Yep. Give me a second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. All right, Archie, what were you saying again? Yep.
I was saying, sorry, I made my dog. I was
You're all
saying,
good.
yeah, I was saying that, like, if you look at the 49ers game, because that was, like, the only game where we really had a whole, like, most of our starting defense out very early on in that game,
Yep.
like, right at the start of the game. If it looks anything like that, or better with all our starters out there, I can easily see us holding fucking Denver's offense to 10 points, man. Because, I
Yep.
mean, if we could hold the 49ers starting offense to fucking, like, such a 7, then
A lucky 7 into that point.
yeah, a lucky 7, because we gave them a fucking touchdown. Shelly did
Yep.
anyway. And then if they play like that, then we could easily hold Denver to 10.
Yep.
Because Denver's offense ain't as good as the 49ers starting offense. Nowhere fucking
Yep.
close. And then the 49ers defense is actually better than Denver's. So
Yep, that's true.
I can easily see it being 34-10. Even
Yep.
34-7 even. Just like in the but it all
Just like
depends
in the Niners
because
game.
of yeah, like the Niners game, but if I would say you can say they can score a little more, maybe 10-14, because the fact that the Niners and the Raiders took their starters out at about halftime in that game. So
True. Also, we had our starting defense. I know we have our starting defense for the Cowboy game or no? I think it was just Niner game, right?
Fuck no. No, that was all backups. That was all like
that
was
all backups because I forgot because I know Nick Lombardi was calling the plays on offense. I think Drake Thomas was calling the plays on defense, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was Drake Thomas. It was all backups. It was all like the best guy out there was like fourth string.
Yeah.
kind of deal.
Yep.
It was just who was going to make the last spot on the roster, or who was going to make the practice squad. That's all that was, or who was going to get cut. That's all that game was about. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't put
man, we
I wouldn't put anything in that Cowboys game. That Cowboys game was not in any way, shape, or form anything to do with like starting guys or even second string guys.
Like,
If you want to look at
I'm
second
honest,
string and first string
we
guys, I
should've
look
kept
more at the
Drake
Niners and the
Thomas.
Rams game.
Oh yeah, especially that Rams game. We had that first drive with our starting offense. Like, we had a couple of guys from our starting offense in there. I know Jimmy
Yeah,
G,
that
the
one,
main guy. We had Hooper in there. We had Jacoby Myers in there. I know we had. Did we have Illuminor in that game? Or I think Illuminor played that first drive of that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did have the starting offensive line in the first two games.
Oh yeah,
Play part of the play because there was still a battle going on between Munford and Illuminor.
oh yeah.
And there was also a battle going on for the right guard spot as well, which Greg Van Rotten now has.
Yep. It was Van Roten and then Jordan Meredith, right? Or was it Dylan Parham?
Jordan Meredith. Parham's on the left. So it was Jordan Meredith and
Parham moved over to the left side, yep.
Yeah, because you also had Alex Bars, Jordan Meredith, McClendon Curtis, and
McClendon Curtis
Greg
too.
Van Rotten.
He's on the practice squad now.
Yeah, he's on the practice squad now. They were all battling for that right guard spot at the start.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, what were we talking about?
We were talking about that right guard spot, that offensive line.
And I was also saying that, like, I can easily see this game being 34-10 because if you look at the 49ers game and the Rams game, with our starting defense is like what showed up in the 49ers and Rams game, then we can easily hold Denver's offense to 10.
Yep.
Because, like, the 49ers offense and the Rams offense is better than the fucking Denver offense, in my opinion. And then their defense, if as good as the Denver defense is, I could say that the 49ers defense is probably better than the Denver defense. So.
Oh, yeah. And you see what we did against them, 34 in the first game. I think we're the only team to score over 30 against them.
Yeah, I think we are, and the Rams too, I think.
Oh yeah, the Rams did it on Christmas Day. They dropped like 51 or something. It was like 51-14.
No, I'm saying the Rams, though, I think we're the only team to like go back-to-back over 30 points in the preseason, when we did it to the 49ers and the Rams. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, as you pointed out, Ozzy, I mean, it's tough to tell in preseason, right? I mean, obviously,
I'm
for
basing
example,
off the 49ers game because the 49ers had starters out there, and so did we. But you can't really look at the Cowboys game or the other game too much because the second half of the first half of the Rams game, a little bit you can, but mostly the 49ers game is what I'm going off.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, obviously you weren't dealing with Brock Purdy in that game. You had the combination of Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, and obviously they shipped off Trey Lance to the Cowboys before, already. So, to be fair, you can't quite go off of preseason, I would say. But in general, you're definitely right. I mean, like I said, in terms of weaponry, right? For this Denver offense, it doesn't really seem like they're working a lot. And not only that, they're injured, right? So, like I said, I mean, it's definitely, to me, just a matter of who's going to guard Cortland Sutton, and then outside of that, just don't make stupid mistakes with leaving maybe a Marvin Mims or a Lil Jordan Humphrey, guys like that. Don't leave them too wide open. Because other than that, right? I mean, it doesn't really seem like the talent of their receiving core is going to cause a lot of matchup problems. So,
oh yeah,
like I said, I would just be interested in seeing how Patrick Graham puts on excuse me, who Patrick Graham puts on Cortland Sutton, right?
Sutton?
That to me is going to be the biggest game within the game, right? As far as a matchup is
Yep.
concerned.
I'll probably say Peters.
Yeah. I expect Peters and then
But I think Mims
like
is going to be
Jacorian on
faster,
Marvin
so I'd rather
Mims.
put Jacorian on Mims. Yeah, because Mims is
Yep.
faster, I think. So I'd rather put Jacorian on Mims.
Yeah,
Speed-wise.
Jacorian's fast too, so we'll put speed on speed.
I mean, I might throw you guys for a loop here, but as far as the corners that we have, playing tomorrow, I would go with Nate Hobbs personally if we're going 1-on-1. Just because, I mean, to me, sort of Marcus Peters and Jacorian Bennett are on two opposite ends of the spectrum, as far as where they are in their careers. Obviously Peters, he adds a veteran presence, but is he still going to be that same player? That to me is a little bit of a question mark. And Jacorian, right? I mean, Jacorian, obviously there's a lot of potential there. And I think he definitely could be really good. It's just, what can we expect from a guy as a first year, starter, or guys getting in the mix as, during his first year. So to me, we have inexperience versus, might be over the hill. So to me, Nate Hobbs is sort of right in the middle of those two as far as, obviously has the experience, has shown that when he's healthy, he can do really well, even against, a lot of, good wide receivers. So to me, it's, if I'm looking at this depth chart right now, I'm at least, to start the game, putting Nate Hobbs on him. But, obviously it does seem like they want to use Nate Hobbs in that nickel corner kind of position.
Yep.
But, like I said, just because of, the lack of receivers that the Broncos seem to have, is a nickel corner going to be that necessary in this game? I mean, to me, I'm not so sure about that. So I would say, you might as well roll the dice with having Nate Hobbs, on the boundary. That would be my way of approaching, the coverage of Cortland Sutton. But obviously, we'll have to
Who's
see.
Denver's slot receiver, though?
Who, Cortland?
No, I'm saying who would be Denver's slot receiver?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, off the top of my head,
Because I say Cortland's probably going to be outside at the wide receiver one. So.
I'm thinking off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure who is all starting. I know they have Dorsett and then Humphrey.
I'll check the roster.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Well, obviously they have. Well, Dorsett, he's really supposed to be like a deep threat kind of a burner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so yeah, so I guess it's going to be Lil Jordan Humphrey because Jerry Judy's supposed to be their slot guy. So to me, I think it's overkill to have a guy like Hobbs in the slot against Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think he's overqualified for that matchup. So, like I said, I'd probably put Hobbs on him, but and also especially here's another thing, right? Because of the way that Peters plays, even when he is at the top of his game, he's known to give up a lot of chunk plays, kind of get burned. And to me, even if he makes up for it in interceptions, having chunk plays, I think, really accrues to the benefit of the Broncos. I think that's really the kind of game they want to play because if they can get, in these short yardage red zone situations, they're going to turn to the run game, right? I think that's where they're going to be more comfortable. Obviously, you have Russell Wilson, who, once again, if he can get back to his original form, before this past year, then obviously he's going to be, an issue to deal with, right? So, that's sort of being the question too. But like I said, I mean, I think if you can prevent, the Broncos from really advancing the ball, especially, on big plays, I think you really can contain them. So like I said, I mean, I think I'd rather see Hobbs out of the boundary. What?
I was just going to say, sorry to interject, but yeah, if what you're saying is true, I could see Jacorian playing the slot though. I could see them using Hobbs and Peters on the outside and putting Jacorian in the slot. Because Jacorian's playing the slot at Maryland too. Like some nickel corner. So I think they can put Jacorin in the slot if you reckon that's where their least talented wide receiver is going to be. That's probably what I would do as well. Because him being a rookie and everything, it'd be better to put him on like the least talented guy in the slot. Because I don't know if that's going to be Brandon Johnson or whatever, who's also a rookie. Maybe that's the slot
Brandon
guy.
Johnson. Yep.
So if he's going to be the slot guy, then I'll probably put what do you call it? I'll put Jacorin in the slot.
Yep.
Can always move it around, make adjustments in game anyway, but that's probably how I started out.
Yeah.
I'd have maybe
started
Peters
off with
matched up.
Jacorin in the slot.
Yeah, and put Peters on Cortland Sutton, and then put Hobbs on the other side or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Because I reckon they might, if they got Dorsett, I reckon Dorsett's going to be one of their outside receivers. So another thing you could match, or you could. That's another thing you could match Jacorin on Dorsett. Because he's already going to know him from training camp, and they can match up on speed. So, if Dorsett is playing on the outside, I suspect Jacorin to be on the outside, and Hobbs in the slot. But if Dorsett's in the slot, then I would expect to see Jacorin in the slot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. Yeah, just because, I mean, to me, I personally was not extremely high on the Marcus Peters signing. Like I said, I mean, hopefully he adds a veteran presence, not only to this quarterback room, but to this locker room as a whole. But, I would just be afraid, right, of, when the Broncos do, maybe try to launch it downfield or something like that, Peters would, get lost in the sauce a little bit, because obviously he is known to give up chunk plays, sort of get burnt in a lot of situations. So, I mean, he could make up for it in turnovers. Obviously, he also has been known as a ball hawk. That's sort of become, his calling card, or why he's, been as accomplished as he is. So, obviously, we'll have to see how it plays out. But like I said, if I'm Patrick Graham, I'm probably sticking Nate Hobbs, at least to start the game on the boundary against Cortland Sutton. I think that gives us the best chance, to neutralize or to contain Cortland Sutton. But maybe Marcus Peters will surprise us. Or maybe it's Jacorin, right? Maybe Jacorin can handle that assignment. I personally think that a much easier sort of transition into meaningful NFL football would be for Jacorin Bennett to handle. The likes of Lil Jordan Humphrey. Or who was that? Marvin Mims, right? Yeah, So obviously we'll have to see what plays out, but that would probably be my, my expectation as far, or my recommendation, as far as what's due on defense. Another sort of, maybe as far as just the way weaponry for the Broncos, while we're talking about it, maybe sort of a thing to take note of, or maybe to prioritize in your game plan if you're Patrick Graham, is the tight ends that the Broncos have. They do seem to have some kind of talent. I mean, it's not scary, it's not loaded with talent, but obviously Adam Troutman, having played previously for the Saints, I believe, with Sean Payton. Obviously Greg Dulcich as well. He's a guy who, if I remember correctly, had at least a couple good games or two, game or two, against, or just in general, it's a couple good games. So maybe a scary thing to look out for if you're the Raiders is how creatively the tight ends might be used. Maybe there are going to be some matchup problems in the Raiders defense against those tight ends. So I would definitely keep an eye for them as well. Like I said, not loaded with talent. So, just like I said, just something to keep an eye for, because if we're talking about weaponry, if we're talking about guys you need to prepare
Speaking
for.
of tight end.
What?
Speaking of tight end, just going off what you're saying, speaking of tight end, I'd probably say Greg Dulcich is probably their second best weapon outside of Cortland Sutton. I mean
It's like their
that
best
tight end was pretty highly
like
drafted.
receiving weapon.
Yeah, he was pretty
Yeah,
highly
I see it.
drafted out of college, so I can
Yep.
see like him being a big target and everything. I can see Dolch getting a lot of targets early on, especially if it's
Depends
going
who's.
to, especially in the weather. I think both teams are going to utilize the tight end, so
Yeah,
I
but
can
who's gonna
definitely.
be
Yeah, that's the
shadowing
question. You
up
need
top of him though?
it'd probably have to be a linebacker, I would think.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm not sure. Like as much as I like Diablo, I've met the guy. I'm not sure with his I guess coverage. I guess coverage grades last year.
Maybe
I'm
Bernie
not sure how well how good he could do. Like I'm not really confident in him matching
or
up against a tight end at all because of
could be
that.
Spillane. It might be Spillane.
Yeah, I'm
It
thinking
might be
possibly Spillane would be my
yeah.
best bet as him up top on Dulwich or
They
Trout.
might do might have to double him a little bit because of his size. If you get what I'm saying, like where you kind of have a
Oh
safety
yeah,
over
I
the
got
top.
you. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they might have to double him in the sense of having Spillane will be his main coverage guy, but then they might have a safety help him over the top.
Yep, you probably have Paulo Mal in the box or something, or probably
Something
throw
like
Marcus
that. Yeah,
Epps in there.
Mal would be a good choice because he's pretty tall. So
Yep.
I can definitely see that being a possibility. But yeah, because I feel like outside of Sutton, I feel like their next best weapon is probably Dolch.
Yeah.
Because Jerry Judy's not playing, so.
Yep. But with that being it, who do you guys feel is going to be, I'd say, the matchups on our side of the ball more on offense? Obviously, I know that even though Surtain's coming in a little banged up, he was limited in yesterday's practice for Denver. He's obviously likely going to be matched up on Devontae 90%. It's 90% chance he's going to be matched up on
Yeah, I
Devontae,
say
even
Surtain's
though
going to be on Adams.
he's not there yet.
To be honest, I'm not really big on Denver's roster. I should probably take a look at it. But
Yeah, same here. Just take a look. I'm gonna just take a look at this depth chart just to see who could
I know they've
be.
changed their shit a little bit. So
Yeah,
yeah, I say probably be Mathis will be put up on Jacoby.
yep,
Most likely.
yep.
Could be Fabian Moreau or Riley Moss might go on Hunter.
Yeah, I think probably Riley Moss.
Yeah.
And then plus you still have those safeties up top though.
Yeah, that's enough.
Even if he's third string, the guy Dustin's been hyping up JL Skinner, who
they got Kareem Jackson and
liked
Justin
having
Sims
him
are
here.
nice.
Yep.
Yeah, Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons are nice for their safety team.
Yep.
They also got JL Skinner, who they just drafted.
Yep, JL Skinner. Yep.
He's the guy I wanted.
Man,
yeah,
that's someone I wanted too. I know Dustin Eagle was talking about him a lot because I know we had a post blow up on.
Yeah, that was
Instagram
Cortez's guy. Cortez was the first one to bring him up.
Oh yeah.
Well, they also got that nickel corner, Exang Bassi, who's not bad too.
Oh, he's not that bad.
Yeah, he was pretty decent out of college. He's still a young player, but he was pretty good out of college.
Yeah. Depends who would we put on him or who would they put on our guy? What they probably put him on
tight ends.
Oh, on one of our tight ends, probably Cooper.
Yeah, I'd probably say. Yeah, well, they got Alex Singleton and also Drew Sanders
they
just brought in.
Yep.
Singleton's a good middle linebacker.
And they got Josie Jewell as well.
Yeah, Josie Jewell.
With Drew Sanders.
Yeah, they do too. Yeah, I see. They got 2 inside linebackers. Yeah, they got 3 good inside linebackers because they got Josie Jewell, Alex Singleton, who I think they just got in free agency, and then they just drafted Drew Sanders, the Razorback.
Yep, out of Arkansas.
Yeah, out of Arkansas.
Yep.
So yeah, they got a decent linebacking core actually.
True.
So that's not a bad. And then they got Frank Clark as well.
Yep, they got Frank Clark, Randy Gregory, the man who has a vendetta on Mark Davis's bowl cut. You have DJ Jones, who honestly felt like he had a solid year last year coming from San Francisco. along with Frank Clark, who they just brought in as well from Kansas City.
Yeah, facts.
So now it really just depends on how our running game could do. Like, are we gonna go running
We're
back by
gonna have the run to
committee
open it
or
up for sure. I think committee
huh?
to a point. I think it will be a committee
Yep.
to a point, but Jacobs will be like obviously the head of the committee, so it'll be
Yep.
like
I'm
Jacobs
thinking
mainly.
possibly.
But then I think you'll see a bit of Zeus, you'll see a bit of Emmanuel, you'll see a bit of Bolden as well.
Yep. Like I'm thinking we'll probably spring. I know Jacob's probably gonna get about 20. What should we say? Like 20 something carries. I'm not sure it would be a good number. What, like
I say
23
15.
carries?
No, I say 15 to 20 even. 15 to 20.
15 to 20. Yep.
Yeah.
And then Abdullah, he's the third down guy, and then you'll have like Bolden
Zeus will be the
who.
spellback.
Yep.
Zeus and Bolden actually. They'll probably split the remaining snaps between Zeus and Bolden.
Yeah, they'll split their carries.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we should have kept Damian Williams, honestly, but it's like the attachment that they have on Bolden.
I think Bolden over. I think it's people get too caught up on that couple like good plays in preseason. But Bolden,
True.
I was actually pretty down on Bolden too. But then when I went back and like kind of thought about, looked at his previous work, like not just the yardage and stuff, I can kind of see why they keep Bolden. He's a good third down player
like
for
his
blocking.
receiving threat.
Yeah, receiving.
Yeah,
Yes, receiving blocking threat. He knows the assignments. He and all that. Yeah. But he knows the offense really well too. He can teach the young bucks as well how to like the assignment. So I kind of get why they kept him around.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's still technically the head of that running back room, even with Jacobs there, as far as teaching the playbook and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think even Jacobs will probably come to Bolden when it comes to like learning some play once they open up the playbook more and shit like that. So I think that's why they kept him around as like he's like an on the field coach as well as
like someone with like a Brian Hoyer, I guess. To an extent.
Brian Hoyer at running back, but he can also still play a bit.
Yeah, he can still play too.
Yeah.
Like he's not just like I guess like mainly just brought in as a clipboard guy. Not like that, but just to say like throughout the stretch. Or throughout the stretch is like somewhat guaranteed to get like his carries and get his work out the backfield where it's like Hoyer, if it's not a dire situation, he's not really gonna come in. He's just gonna be
exactly.
He's just gonna be there to just be like if Jimmy G, let's say Jimmy G has like misses the open man in the red zone, he's gonna be he walk up to him and be like, hey, when that happens, you go
I
here.
think Bolden is also the backup fullback because I think Bolden's also like the backup fullback to Jacob.
Oh yeah, essentially, yep.
Yeah, so essentially Bolden is also the backup fullback. If Jacob goes down, the next fullback to come up will probably be Bolden at fullback. So I think Bolden's a split between a running back and a fullback. So that's probably why they kept him around as well. It's also he's also the backup fullback. The versatility, yeah.
Yep, that's what the system's been preaching, versatility, especially on offensive and defensive lines. Like the best way you're gonna get run on this team is by being versatile. That's why like guys who can play the special teams. That's why we brought in like DeAndre Carter. That's why I guess we essentially brought in Trey Tucker, I guess, but mainly DeAndre Carter as that special teams guy. So we could take some of that pressure off Renfro in the return game.
Yeah, agreed. And there's even some guys that like linebacker depth and that are good on special teams.
Oh yeah.
Like Bernie's pretty good on special teams as well as being a linebacker.
Oh yeah, Bolden. Mm-hmm.
So like there's a few players like that are on the team not just because of their position group, but because of the special teams as well.
Yep.
Because like good field position is important. So.
Yep. That's why if you guys didn't really pick up like towards like the beginning of the season, I think the NFL banned it now, but I remember when they were having AJ Cole like tilt took the ball on the tee when Carlson was going out for the kickoff. So you remember that?
Yeah, I
Oh,
remember that, but I think because how we utilized the loophole, they ended up fixing that.
Yep.
Well, not fixing that, but they ended up changing the rule because of that.
Yep. Because that was giving us better field position, like inside like the 15, inside the 20, where the ball's getting more carry on it. We're able to get deeper. Our front guys able to get deeper in on those kickoffs on special teams.
Yeah, facts. Because I think it let the ball float in the air a bit longer.
Yep, it gave it a bit more airtime.
Yeah. But I think now you have to put it straight on the tee. You can't bend it or anything else.
Yeah.
The other thing that shits me off though is if they field it in the 10-yard line, you can call a fair catch and it goes to the 20 or some shit.
I think it's anything inside the 25 that goes to the 25 or something like that.
Yeah, like if isn't it something like if they field it at like the fucking 10-yard line or something, they can fair catch it and it goes to 25 now.
I think so. I think it's something inside the 25. Let me take a look real quick.
Because if that's the case, that's bullshit, man. Like that sucks. Because that means it's going to be harder to pin them back if that's the case. Because I reckon like if you call a fair catch at the 10-yard line,
I think it's just on kickoffs, not on like punt. I'm not sure on punts.
I don't think it's on punt. I'm saying like on
kickoffs.
kickoffs. Yeah, it's only on kickoffs. Like at kickoff, if you kick off and you get them in the 10-yard line, apparently if they fair catch it, it's like comes out at 25.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still bullshit. I reckon it should be wherever you fair catch it from is where you start from.
Yep.
The only time it should come out to the 25 or whatever is if it's
It's like if
it hits the end zone or whatever, it's a touchback.
Yep, if it hits the end zone, 20 touchback, 25-yard line.
Yeah, exactly. But any other time, it should be wherever you field it at.
Yep.
Like if you field it at the 10, then that's where you're starting from, the 10.
Yep, you start at the 10.
Yeah, because otherwise that's like hella unfair to defenses, I think. I feel like they're trying to take more and more away from the special teams and the defense and make it even more and more of an offensive league.
Yep, like I feel like this somewhat on topic, but as a guy who watches a lot, or at least as someone who watches a lot of baseball myself, it's like the NFL's version of the pitch clock rule. If you guys heard of that, where you have like 15 seconds to pitch it, or it's like automatic like ball automatic strike or something like that. It's somewhat like that, but for the NFL, in my eyes. Like in a sense of term, like I guess like get more offense, like try to like because now the game is dominating on the offense now. Like now it's all about airing the ball out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't watch much baseball, but from what you were saying, yeah, I kind of agree. It's a similar thing to that.
Yep. Also, just quickly here to wrap up the show. We still have a little bit of time just to wrap up the show a bit. Do you guys have any score predictions or anything that you guys want to bring up here?
Oh, like I gave my score prediction before. I think it's going to be about 34-10. Like if everything clicks well.
34-10?
I can also see it being like a 24 kind of 10 game though if we don't like click straight away.
Yeah. Like 24-10 seems reasonable.
I don't think Denver's going to score much, to be honest. I just don't see it until I can see it on the field. Like the only weapons they really got to me is Cortland Sutton and that tight end I was saying, and then maybe
and Greg
Mims, depending if Mims has a good game or if it's still a rookie.
Yeah, and a partially banged up who might not even play Javonte Williams.
Exactly. Like we don't even know what their run game's going to be, or if their run game's going to be any good. And if it's going to be cold like they're saying, and they don't have a run game, they're fucked.
Yep. Like so Project Puron is not. He's not going to get like 20, 30 carries and break away unless if our run defense is how it was like I guess like somewhat last year, but not our run defense was solid last year, but there's times where he like falter in that sense. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it kind of was, especially before we got Tillery.
Before we got Jerry Tillery,
Yeah. But I feel like
for the end of the season, our defense started getting better.
Yeah, exactly. With all the DTs we've got now, like we've got John Jenkins as well from Miami, who I think is going to be our main nose tackle, the
Yep.
D tackle from Miami, John Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be like if we were running a 3-4, I expect to see Jenkins in the middle.
Yep.
Another thing I've spoken on before is don't be surprised if we kind of run like I don't know if you remember the old Houston Texans defense from back in the day when they had JJ Watt.
Yeah, JJ Watt.
Yeah, back in the old days, I don't know if you remember how the Texans used to have like 5 pass rushers at times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that I don't know what you call that defense exactly, but it's kind of like where you got like your normal 4D linemen, but then you have like an outside linebacker out on the edge standing up that
Yep.
also blitzes off the edge.
Oh yeah. I
So you end
expect to
up with
see a good
5
amount
pass
of that,
rushers.
especially when we get Chandler Jones back. I expect to see a good amount of that. Like if it's on like a third, like if it's like third and like 5, send pressure. Why not?
Yeah, facts. I just think there's a couple of they used to mix it around a bit over in the Texans back in that day, but they used to have like they always have like an extra pass rusher where there is a linebacker blitzing from the middle linebacker spot or off the edge, or they used to mix up.
Yep.
So I kind of like that versatile type defense. I see Graham kind of running something similar. That
Yeah.
versatile kind of defense.
Yeah. I've seen that a bit. Like I remember when John Jenkins was getting all that pressure against San Francisco. I think he had 2 sacks in that first half or something like that. Where they did it a little bit, not too much, but I seen like they were sending a couple guys here and there.
Yeah, Bernie looked pretty good sacking the
Yeah,
quarterback
Amari
too. Like,
Burney. Yep.
because I see Bernie taking that kind of like that blitzing linebacking role where he's going to be like a blitz specialist from the linebacker spot.
Yep. And then you could probably have like I say Diablo, like Spillane's gonna be obviously a tackling machine. Diablo, he's gonna be a tackler as well, but I expect to see
So is
him with like
Spillane.
his speed and him being converted from safety, like I guess more of like I guess essentially like a spy role, like a contained type of role from him.
Yeah, him and Bernie are going to be like that, but I think Spillane's going to be like, I'll probably be our best tackler, but we'll see.
Yeah, our best tackler, yep.
And Spillane's actually, I think he's going to be better in coverage than Perryman was.
Oh yeah.
Because Perryman wasn't that good. He was a good tackler, but he wasn't great in coverage. Whereas I think Spillane will
Yeah.
actually be decent. He might not be the world's best in coverage, but he's going to be like serviceable coverage.
That's true.
I'd say Perryman was great at stopping the run. He was a great tackler, but he was
Yeah.
a bit below average in pass coverage.
Yeah.
I think that's why they kind of moved on from him, that the injury, and then we got Spillane. I think Spillane is a small upgrade. Not a massive upgrade, but a small upgrade in the coverage area over Perryman, with about the same ability in the tackling department.
Wait, repeat that. You were cutting out a bit, Ozzy.
Oh, sorry, I think it was my mic. I was saying that I think between Spillane and Perryman, I think Spillane is a slight upgrade just in the fact that he has a little bit better coverage, but about the same in the tackling and the
Oh
run
yeah.
game.
Yep. But the summary of this game. Wait, hold on, Jeff, you still there? I don't think he is. But the summary of this game, how could our who's gonna win? Who's gonna win time of possession? Another underrated thing: who's gonna put more pressure on who? That's another thing that we gotta look at. Because I know we got Mad Max, we got Tyree making his debut. I guess we got Adam Butler in that D tackle. We have Spillane at linebacker. It's like I heard that. Like I guess I'm not sure. I'm thinking Hobbs, or it's like one of our like corners sets a blitz like a decent amount here and there. Like I'm not sure how true that is, but I'm hearing that one of our corners
Could be
supposed to
Meek
be
Robertson.
blitzing
He's
every
pretty
here
good
and there.
at blitzing.
Yeah, Meek. Yeah, Meek. I don't think he's going to be a consistent piece, in this, I guess, like a consistent piece in this defense like he was last year when our cornerback room was banged up, but it could, I guess, he could be in there here and there, not like as a coverage guy, but more as like a blitzing guy. But he'll have a little bit of coverage, but not too much because of his size, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree, man. Sorry, I was just I was listening. So yeah,
You're
I
all
agree
good.
with what you're saying. Like I do expect them to show a lot of different looks on defense, especially with it being week one. Graham's probably going to want to try different things out, see what works. Because we
Yep.
got a whole like we got a lot of the faces on defense are new. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so got to kind of he's probably going to run a few different things to kind of see like what works, what doesn't work. Like
Oh yeah.
our defense is still very young. Like I think a majority of our games this regular season is going to be won by our offense, just because our defense
Yep.
is very young and it's still
Yep.
developing. But I think this defense has a lot of potential. Though.
Yep.
It definitely has a lot of potential, and with Max as the captain of the defense and that, I think like they're heading in the right direction as far as the defense goes. I'm actually like really happy about the direction of the defense this year. I feel like we finally got some solid pieces that we can actually start building our defense around. Like you got Spillane, you got Mad Max, you got like some veterans at DTs like Tillery and Jenkins at DT. Um, we've drafted Tyree Wilson. We also got Kuntz. Like
Yep.
there's definitely some, and then we got Marcus Peters, Jacorian Bennett, and
Oh
Hobbs.
yeah.
So like we definitely got some pieces on defense now. So
Yep.
it's
Like I
just
feel
remains to be
like.
seen putting it all
Go
together.
ahead.
I was just saying it
I
remains to be
feel.
seen how they put it all together.
Oh yeah. But I feel like we could possibly be like a top. I guess I say like we could possibly be like a top 20 unit just overall this year.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. I've been saying like 15 to 20. 15 would be nice,
Yep.
but I'd say we're going to be at least 20. I think we finished like 28 last year or something.
Yeah,
So
we were 28th last year.
yeah, so moving up 8 spots is very doable. Like that's very achievable with the pieces we now got. Um,
Yep.
Because people got to remember also a lot of our linebackers were injured last year. Like we had a very
Yep.
like most of our linebacking core was due to their face. So last year,
Yep.
like
Like
Darren Butler, Luke
Masterson, that's why he had
Masterson,
such a big role last year.
that exactly because Luke Masterson, Darren Butler. Then we also got that Kanai Managi or whatever Manuga, who's now on the
Kanai
practice
Munga,
squad.
I think.
Yeah, whatever his name is. Yeah, he's on the practice squad this year. He was on the active roster last year because we were so depleted. Um, yeah, so like. The fact that we got Spillane, Diablo's coming back healthy. That's our two linebackers. We got Luke Masterson behind that. Then we got, Marcus Peters, Shakarian Bennett, Hobbs, Amik Robertson, and David Long. I mean, I don't know if I found Long though, but the other four, like, I'm pretty happy with. Then you got like on defensive end, you obviously got Max Crosby as one. You got Wilson. You got Malcolm Kuntz, and then maybe they bring in Isaac Rochelle with Chandler being out for whatever reason, like mental health, whatever. So maybe they bring Isaac Rochelle off the practice squad, bring him in.
Oh yeah,
I like
Rochelle's
the what?
already off the practice squad. From what I
Oh, is he?
hear, pretty
They
supposed to
have
be
activated
active.
him. All right, cool. So that means they've done exactly what I hope they do, which is activate Isaac Rochelle, which is good. I said that like yesterday or the day before. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, Isaac Rochelle looked pretty promising to me in preseason, from what I saw.
Same
So
here.
that's definitely a good move there with Chandler being out. And then DTs, you got Young, you got Tillery, you got Jenkins, you got what's the other dude's name? Silvera, the one we drafted in the
Oh
seventh
yeah,
round. So
Nesta.
Nesta, yeah, Nesta. So like I like our DT room as well. We got very solid depth, very solid starters this year for the first time in
Yep.
defense to me in like 20 fucking years. So it's just a matter of them putting it all together. Like this is the best defense I've seen us have in a long time. The last, as far as like on paper goes. So the last time I saw us having a solid defense, kind of like this, reminded me of when we had like Richard Seymour and Kelly and what was it, Kirk Morrison, I think, and all that. So like it's been a while since I've seen the defense just kind of stacked up.
Hmm.
So it's been a long time because like we'd have starters in other years, but as soon as the starter went down, we were pretty much fucked because everyone behind was like
Yep.
was
Because
nowhere
there's no
close.
one behind him at all.
Yeah, and then so I feel like we finally got some depth, and it's been a while. since we've had that depth on defense. So it's kind of Green and Matt's fault because like we had so many busted drafts, not just them, but previous regimes as well. Because when you have so many busted drafts, like especially first round picks, so many busts, it affects you long term. Like, and then it starts to show after a while. It shows in the depth of your roster.
Yeah. Or it's like you gotta turn to like those like mid late and UDFA type of guys to even be
Yeah,
able to get
exactly.
like that little bit of production.
Yeah, facts. And that's why I'm really happy with what Ziegler's doing. Like, I like the way he's building this defense.
Yep. Like he
I
said,
mean,
Ziegler said he's building it from the front back, I guess, like
yeah, which
essentially
is what I wanted
front
for
to the
so
back.
long. That's exactly what I have wanted to do it for the longest time. Like, just build the D line first, get your pass rush first, and then build your linebackers, and then your secondary. Like, that's how you should do it, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like that's why the expression says on both sides of the ball it always starts in the trenches.
Yep.
So yeah, but I'm glad he's trying to do it. I mean, a lot of people give Ziegler shit. The only thing, like the only contract that might even be questionable right now is the Chandler one. But in hindsight, everything's 2020. Because
Yep.
when we got Chandler, he was the NFL sack leader, and he had every year he's had production except for last year. So like I don't
Yep.
put too much shit on Ziegler for that because when he got him, I kind of got why they wanted to take the pressure off of Max, which is what Max needed. So they needed
Yep.
someone on the other side who was like a proven guy that teams have to account for.
Yeah.
And
Like it was
at the
essentially
time,
when we did. Go ahead.
yeah, because I was just saying because we were basically getting on a 3-year deal, and he was supposed to be like the guy opposite Max until we draft a guy, which in this case is Tyree Wilson. Till we draft a
Yep.
guy, and then that guy like give that guy time to develop behind Chandler, and then when it's Chandler's time to retire, that guy takes over. That was what their plan was. But the unexpected obviously happened recently with Chandler with the mental health and everything. So now things are having to be done more sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Because I kind of get why they paid him what they paid him and why they brought him in. Like he's an NFL sack leader, he's a veteran player, he knows the system and all the rest of it.
Yep.
And defensive end's always going to get paid a shit ton of money. Like it's the outside of quarterback, it's the next most expensive position. So
Yep. You get
him getting
quarterback,
like
ends,
17
then you
million
got
a year
like
is pretty
tackles
average.
and receivers.
Yeah, exactly. Because 17 million a year for a defensive end is pretty average,
Yep.
especially for one of his caliber. Like $17 million might sound like a lot, but it's pretty average for a top end defensive end.
Yep.
Because even if he's like past his prime, Chandler's still like a top 15 to 20 D end at least. Like you can't say
Yep.
he's less than that. And if anything, you could probably argue he's much higher than that. But we're still
Yep.
paying him within like the 10 to 12 price range. So it just sucks what happens with his mental health because I feel like right at the end of last year, Chandler was starting to click.
Yep. He was just
Especially once
coming
we picked
on.
up Tillery. Because if you
Yep.
notice, once we picked up Tillery, it took the pressure off of Chandler and Max. Because Chandler was
Yep.
eating a lot of double teams last year. And that's why Max got 15 sacks.
Yep.
So, like, him not... I think people don't realize, like, the contribution Chandler was making because they just kind of, like, look at his sacks and stuff. But they don't look at the fact that Chandler was taking a lot of double teams. He was good against the run. He was good at setting the edge. And the second we got Tillery in there, he started getting more production because the fact that he wasn't the one eating all the double teams all the time because they had to start counting for Tillery.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, this sucks that we couldn't see what Chandler could do this year. I'm hoping that whatever this shit is that's going on, that they can get sorted out and they can come back and play because I feel like that's why they're keeping it in-house right now. Because they do
Yep.
want him to come back and play. Because we've got to pay him the money regardless. So they want him to come back and play.
Yep.
So, like, hopefully, whatever it is, they can sort it out, and he can still come back and play at some point in the season.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yep. Also, one thing to wrap up with real quick, a little bit off topic and a little bit late as well, but I finally got my week 1 gear, like a half hour before the show started. It's not actually in my possession, but I finally ordered my week 1 gear.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
What did you end up ordering?
I could share it real quick, but I ended up got a hoodie and then I got this beanie I was looking for a while. Like like that little like palm on the beanie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep. I was looking for one without it, so I was finally
Oh,
able to
really?
find one of those.
Yeah, I hate them with the ball on top. All my beanies don't have that. Because I got a white one and a black one. Because I usually always carry at least like two, like one away, one home.
Yep.
Because I was someone who didn't really get player jerseys too much because players come and go all the time. So I used to mostly just get Raiders like beanies, hats, jumpers, etc. Not
Yep.
actual player stuff. I've only started collecting player stuff more so lately.
Yep. The
But
best thing is with this team, go for the legends, man. Like you
yeah,
can't
that's
go
what I got.
pick up
Max
Marcus
Crosby,
Allen, Bo
Devontae
Jackson,
Adams.
Charles Woodson. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's like I started to realize that maybe I should get those kind of ones because I'm kind of trying to stay away from players too much. I got Tyree Wilson as well because he was the dude that I wanted to draft and they drafted him, so I grabbed that one.
Yep.
I also feel like Tyree Wilson's going to be a big I feel like Tyree Wilson is the kind of guy who could end up being a Raider for life because he played Texas Tech Raiders, now he's come to the Silver and Black Raider. So like I
Yep.
just feel like he's kind of going to be the guy that wants to be a Raider. So I feel like he's probably a guy that, long as everything goes well, no injuries and nothing, he's gonna be a Raider for a while.
Yep.
I think him and Max will be our starting defensive end duo for a while.
Yep, for a long time, man. Hopefully we could put some L's on Mahomes' book in that span.
Oh, definitely will. I think the main thing that we were lacking in was stopping Mahomes, or at least slowing him down, because we didn't really have interior pass rush. I saw it every game. Like we'd get the pass rush off the edge, even when we had like Yannick and Max. But then
Oh
there
yeah.
was like no one in the fucking middle. Like so the quarterbacks just step up in the middle and we had no DT and no middle linebacker to really like that was good at coverage. So every time we'd get pressure off the edge, all the quarterback has to do is step up in the fucking middle and throw it over the middle to Kelsey.
Yep.
Every fucking time.
Uh,
And it's just like fuck. So that's why I'm glad we got Spillane and I'm glad we got John Jenkins and Young and Tillery and like finally got some DTs and some fucking middle linebackers. Hopefully Brian Diablo can be that guy too.
yeah.
Because if we can get two good middle linebackers with Spillane and Diablo, and then like Jerry Tillery keeps like being good for us, and then John Jenkins helps like take the double teams, and then Young comes along as a defensive tackle that can pass rush. Because believe it or not, Young's production in college was actually just as good as Jalen Carter's.
Yep.
So if he can live up to that production, from college, then I think we can have a very dominant pass rush. And then once we have that kind of going, it's definitely gonna be like we'll definitely be winning some games against KC. Like we'll probably start splitting with them every year.
Oh yeah.
And maybe we can get it to a point where we might even sweep them one year, maybe.
Yo, like man, we should have had that split last year. Like McDaniels played really good in the AFC
division.
West. It's just somewhat outside of it.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. We played really good in the division. Me and Dustin talked about this before, where in games in the division, Josh McDaniels actually produced or coached better in the division than out of it. And
Yep.
that especially that game where we only lost by like, if we made the 2-point conversion, we would have won.
Yep.
So like the fact that we came that close to being the Chiefs in their house against the refs, against a hostile crowd, all of that shit. And we didn't even have a wide receiver too. Our main tight end was out injured. Our main slot receiver was out injured. Like we had so much. Oh, actually, no. I think that's when Hunter played. But still,
Yep.
we're still lacking a wide receiver too. Our tight end was still on the bench. Fucking our offensive line was still coming together. You know what I mean? Like we had a lot of shit going against us, and we still almost whooped their ass. So
Yep.
I think the
All
Chiefs
those.
are probably
Go
pretty
ahead.
worried right now. I think after like the other night's loss, when the Chiefs lost to the Lions. I think they should be worried right now, especially about the Raiders, because our offense has only just gotten better. We almost beat them last time. So,
Yo.
and if we can get a defense that can actually be decent in coverage with Marcus Peters, Jacorian Bennett, Marcus Epps, etc. Like if we can have decent coverage back there, as well as like a decent pass rush and an okay middle linebacking group, Mahomes should be worried about winning the division this year against the Raiders, because we've been 1-2 for the longest fucking time, and there's only been a few things like the pass rush, the coverage, and then lacking some things on offense that has caused us not to be able to beat them.
Yo.
Because that's why we got another thing is Trey Tucker, right? The last time we beat the Chiefs was with Ruggs, so we had that speed over the top. We got that speed back now with Tucker, so that's another thing too.
Yep. The last time we beat him, we put 40 on him.
Exactly, that's what I mean. We need to be able to score. You got to be able to score against the Chiefs. To beat the Chiefs, you have to be able to score.
Yep.
Because that's the kind of league, like we were saying before, it's becoming offensively driven. You had to be able to score. The crazy thing is that at one point last year, we were pretty much tied with the Chiefs, almost with points per game at one point.
Oh yeah, what was that? Before we got shut out by New Orleans, right?
Yeah, I think before we got shut out by New Orleans, we were pretty much almost tied with the Chiefs in points per game.
Yeah, I think we were third. We were third in points per game up to that point.
Exactly.
Which I think that game was like week 5. No, the game was like week 7 or week 8. I forgot.
Something like that. Yeah, it was around mid-season, like week 6, week 7 or 8, something like that. Somewhere around there. But yeah, that's my point. Where I find it crazy when people say Josh McDaniels ain't a good coach. And that's why I say it's crazy when people say Josh McDaniels ain't a good coach, and he's an offensive coach. He's not a defensive coach. You can't blame McDaniels for the defense, man. Like that's like blaming Sean Payne for the offense. Like Sean Payne's a defensive coach. Bill Belichick is a defensive coach. Josh Allen is a defensive coach, whereas Josh McDaniels is an offensive coach.
Yep.
And we had a top 12 offense last year. We almost tied with the Chiefs for fucking points per game. Like, people got to look at the overall picture, not just certain shit.
Yep. Like, McDaniels did his thing on his side of the ball. Let's just get some turnovers and generate pressure outside of Crosby, and we're set.
Exactly. Facts. And the other thing is, like, there's certain things even on the offensive side that's outside of Josh McDaniels' control. Like, he didn't tell his fucking quarterback to go out and throw fucking triple coverage and shit. Like, come on.
He didn't take. He's not.
Or hold the ball for fucking 5 seconds instead of 3. You know what I mean? Or go through his progressions fast enough and hold the ball for too long.
Yep.
Well, not sense pressure and. Yeah, there's so many things that was outside of his control, and people don't even want to talk about it. Like,
yep, like he's just some magic wizard that controls everything the Raiders do, like the Raiders do.
Yeah, that's what I feel like sometimes. They just want to put anything that goes wrong on his head. It just doesn't work like that, bro.
Yep, like it comes to a time for me where it's sometimes it's like, okay, I see it. Other times I just see it as straight delusional.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't get me wrong. There's times where his clock management could be better or something like that. That's definitely on a head coach. But then there's times where Josh McDaniels had the right fucking play called. Dudes were wide the fuck open, and because people held the ball too long, didn't go through the progressions fast enough, we missed out on opportunities to score points.
Yep.
And we ended up going 3 and out instead. Or sometimes it might be that Jermaine O'Limro fucking has a false start penalty and fucking that fucks up the drive.
That just kills our drive.
Yeah, it killed our drive. So I'm not saying everything is the previous quarterback's fault either. I'm just saying offense in general. Like sometimes it might be the quarterback, the fucking right tackle, this, that, or the third. It's not always Josh McDaniels' fault. Because the coach can only put the players in a position to succeed. It's up to the players then to execute the fucking play. Like, that's just how it works.
Yep.
But and that's why I think a lot of people this year are going to be eating crow. Like all the ones that have been like bashing McDaniels and this and that, a lot of them are going to be eating crow this year.
Yep.
I think our offense is going to be like way better than what it was last year. We're probably going to be like top. I've been saying top 5 to 7 in offense, and anywhere from 15 to 20 in defense. That's kind of where I see it.
I feel like we're probably going to be a top 8 unit on offense this year.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like top 5 to 7 unit on offense and a top 15 to 20 on defense this year.
Yep. And if we do that, we could possibly make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. I've got 10 and 7, 10 and 7, 11 and 6 with a very small percentage possibility of being 12 and 5 if everything clicks perfectly.
Yep. Everything ticks perfectly. Our linebacker core doesn't get hurt. We could go 12 and 5. That's a long shot, but
it's a long shot. It's like 10%.
Happen,
I have 10% on that one. Because I say it's like 70-30. We finished 10 and 7. About 60-40. We finished 11 and 6. And it's about 10% chance that we finished with 12 wins or better.
All right. Oh yeah.
Now, a very slim chance, but it is a possibility if the whole offense kind of like clicks perfectly and everything's in rhythm, like within the first month of football, and then we kind of like just go on a fucking rampage after that. Like, and only drop like 2 or 3 games after that or whatever. Because I have us winning against Denver, but then I have us losing to the Bills.
Oh yeah.
But I have the Bills game being close, but we lose by like a touchdown or something like that, just because of the Bills' high-powered offense. Maybe our defense isn't ready for that kind of thing. They're still like gelling or whatever. So I have us losing that one, but I only have us losing games that, like, it's kind of like those teams are like the better top-tier teams. Whereas most of the games that we should win, we should win. Yeah, especially in the AFC, yeah.
But it always seems like, at least around or after the bye week, it always seems with this team, it seems to be a trap game. I remember, I think it was 2019, we got blew out by the Jets.
Yeah,
last year it was the Jeff Saturday led Colts team. The year before that, it was something. The year before that, it was a whole bunch, man. It always seems like there's a trap game in the middle of the year that just throws off our trajectory, one way or another. I could bring up a whole bunch of trap games just in the past last year, and also some that could be this year. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, to me it seems like the Bears could be a trap game. It's in Soldier Field. What is it? Let me think. I'm thinking that game is freaking. I think it's like week 8 or something. Let me check. That's a week 7 game. I feel like that could be a candidate for a trap game. Like, there's a lot of these games that we could win, but self-inflicted wounds kill us in those games. Like, Pittsburgh last year was one.
Yeah,
New Orleans, I guess, was somewhat one.
Yeah, so I'll give you my prediction real quick. This is what I had. So I had us week 1, Denver, we win. Then we lose week 2 to Buffalo. Then we bounce back in week 3, we beat Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
We lose. We win the first Chargers game over in LA. We beat the Green Bay Packers and the Patriots. Then, like you said, we lose the game in Chicago. Then we also lose the game at the Lions. Just because of the Lions being the Lions. This year, they're looking better. Whatever. But it's a close game. Then I have us bouncing back and beating New York both times, like New York Giants and New York Jets. Then I got us beating Miami, losing the first game against the Chiefs. Then we have the bye week. We come out of the bye week. We beat the Vikings, lose to the Chargers in the second game, but beat the Chiefs the following week in the second game. And then
we beat the Chiefs on Christmas or
on Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like we lose the first one, and then we're but it's close. And then the second one we beat them. Then we win out from there. From that Chiefs game, we win out. So I think that's pretty much what I had. Because I had a splitting with the Chiefs, splitting with the Chargers, but sweeping the Broncos, and then that's 2. And then I had us losing to the Bills. That's 3.
Yep, we had us losing to the Bills and then the Bears and the Lions.
And then we win the other ones. So yeah.
Right there. That's 6 right there. So what you have is like 11-6 or 10?
11-6. Yeah, about 11-6. Yep.
Yep. Like, man,
I just
we
feel
don't have
like it's
anything
mostly going to be
else.
because of our defense. I think because I think we're going to have trouble against teams that can kind of score or so because I think it depends where the Lions are at. We might even win that one, but it depends where the Lions are at by that because that's like week 8. So
Yep.
it depends
You
where they're
guys
at.
need to end it, or-
Yeah,
We
we're
can
looking
wrap
at the
up there.
schedule.
Ozzy, you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Jeff, you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, nothing much other than like I said. I mean, this is going to be a big game. Obviously, great way to get off on the right foot to begin the season. Um, you know, yeah, like I said, I mean, all the things we've been talking about, right? I mean, it's going to come down to I think a lot of mistake-free football as much as possible. Just try to control the tempo, control the clock. Um, obviously win the turnover margin, and I think playing a smart game, given a little bit of luck, I think this team can definitely come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And I agree with
All
that
right.
as well.
Word. All right. Well, with that, salute Raider Nation. Thanks again for hopping on another stream of ours. Obviously, the Raiders will take on the Denver Broncos tomorrow at 4:25 p.m. Eastern in Denver. That's 1:25 p.m. Pacific time. I know we got a lot of West Coast fans out there, obviously. But other than that, just also make sure to tune into our next live show of the Death Star Report, Raiders Live
Monday
News Talk.
night,
This will
7
be
Pacific.
airing. Yep. Yes, and we'll be doing a recap of the game. And so yeah, just tune into that. Like AJ said, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So other than that, salute Raider Nation, and see you guys on Monday. And let's go Raiders.
And salute Raider Nation.
So, everybody, have a good one.
Peace.